How you doing, everybody? Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O here for the Make the Money and Run podcast for Friday, June 4th, 2021. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube for joining us live. If you miss any live broadcasts, including our picks segment at the end of the show, download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts at Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud. Look for the logo up there in the top right corner and join us at your convenience anytime you get. We are on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Facebook and YouTube, download and subscribe anywhere. Casey on assignment today. Got some stuff going on. We're coming off of Memorial Day week, so what's one more day off for Casey? Powered by Stables Media. And speaking of Stables Media, we have to give a shout out to our fearless leader, Charlie. Tony Russo's birthday.
Tony Russo,
today.
Happy birthday!
Tony Russo's birthday today. He looks great for 85, but happy birthday to Tony. Unbelievably done. I mean the walker and
He's
everything.
Coming for you. He is coming for you.
Yeah.
He's already on the freeway.
Yeah, the walker and everything has not kept him from slowing down with Stables Media this last year through the pandemic and everything like that. And the CAT scan tests have showed positive, so he's completely clean and free. And happy birthday, Tony. You look absolutely amazing for 85, and I'll hear from him about that as well, too. But no, happy birthday, Tony. You're doing a great job with Stables, considering everything that we've done. You're a great partner to be with. You're a great friend, and I'm glad to be part of this. And I'm sure that's the comment right here on Facebook coming right now. Oh, classic Vinny. Vinny G, Tony's best friend down in San Diego. So there you go. Hi, Vinny. How are you, buddy? I saw your post today for Tony, so I wanted to say hi to you as well. Hi, Vinny G. Yep. Tony Russo looks great for 85. Again, Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays, Facebook and YouTube Live. If you're with us right now, download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. All right, Charlie, got a big weekend of sports. So, let's go here as we get to it. The NBA notes. Let's start with the Western Conference. We had 3 of the 4 of the Western semifinals set up. Utah beat Memphis on Wednesday, so they are the 1 seed. They're awaiting the winner of the Clippers Mavericks series, which we'll get to in a second. How about those Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic? Everybody wondering how he's an MVP candidate. They were down by double digits, foul trouble in the first quarter. They did get Michael Porter Jr. going with 22 in the first. He ended up with 26, but still Denver, in a game that featured no defense, shocking since that's what we said about the NBA all year to begin with, down 13, 14 points, and yet it's a 5-on-5 gym setting where there's no fouls, no harm, no foul. And here they are, the 126-115 win by Denver. That underlies the tone of how far behind Denver was. They were down by 14, 16 points at one point. Portland had 97 points with 357. I notated this because I was watching the game yesterday. They only got to 101 by the end of the third quarter. So that was your 4 minutes of defense for Portland to come back. And they knocked off 14 points down to 3 at the end of 3 periods. And then they took over in the fourth quarter. Nikola Jokic, you see, 38 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He was in foul trouble in the first period. You got to believe that something kicked in the second half. Talked about Michael Porter Jr.'s hot start. He started off 6 for 6. 6 of 9, ended up with 22 first quarter points. Said he ended up being 29 points, 26 points for the game. But Monty Morris came off the bench. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. But Monty Morris had 22 points off the bench as well, including key shots in the fourth quarter to lead the Nuggets back on the roll, back against Portland, in spite of all the best efforts of Dame Lillard. Man, can that guy shoot? I can't even say his name, how good that guy can shoot. But Dame Lillard trying to bring that team back, and sure enough, they ended up short. Another first-round exit for the Portland Trailblazers. Denver will have a couple of days off. They will get ready to take on the Phoenix Suns. Why do we say the Phoenix Suns? Because the Phoenix Suns eliminated the Lakers yesterday, 113-100. As a 3-point underdog, because Anthony Davis was starting. He didn't last past 6 minutes and 35 seconds into the 6:35 mark into the game. He didn't last past that. He never came back. The lead got as big as 29, a 113-100 win. It's just way closer than what the game should have been. The Lakers made 2 runs in the game, but it had nothing to do with the outcome of this game. This game was over in the second quarter, and I was looking at the Giants-Cubs on the other side of the field where I was at last night. Devin Booker went off. Devin Booker matched Michael Porter Jr.'s 22 in the first quarter. But how about this? He went on to score 47. He was only one of 4 guys to score in double figures, but they held the Lakers team to 100 points. Clearly, a lot of that was garbage time. So that defense came out to play, and Denver's got a fight on their hands. Charlie, the Western Conference 3-quarter set. Again, we'll hit the Clippers and Mavericks, but the Phoenix Suns on the road 3-point underdog. I have them. Denver Nuggets plus 5.5 on the road. We both had them. And sure enough, they come in Game 6 victories on the road. And these are two better teams than the Lakers and the Trailblazers, as it proved during the regular season, Charlie.
Yeah, Vasu, one thing I'd like to go to right away before we get into the details of the game. I've heard a lot of people yipping this morning that Frank Vogel should be fired because he let Anthony Davis play in the game last night. Now, I want to establish the fact that Frank Vogel had absolutely nothing to do with the decision last night about Anthony Davis playing or not playing in that game. Only one guy had a decision to whether or not Anthony Davis played last night, and that was Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a multi-million-dollar player. And AD last night.
No, let me interrupt you there for a second. The doctor's okay at him to play too.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is it was his decision. I mean, the doctor said, okay, give it a try. But bottom line, it was his decision. He wanted to go. He wanted to try to win last night. Competitive spirit. And I hope everybody that was calling him street clothes and everything else stops it. You know, the guy tried to give it a go last night. Ramona Shelburne said the other day on one of our talk shows that injury he had was a 7 to 10 day injury. He tried to push through it. He couldn't do it. Frank Vogel did not hurt Anthony Davis last night. He did not lose that game because of Anthony Davis. He was hurt. He tried. It couldn't happen. The other Lakers tried to pull it together. I thought LeBron got off to a bit of a slow start and then revved it up. He tried to pull it in, but he couldn't get it going until they were already down by 20 points. Now, does that mean that LeBron is washed up? Of course not. You know, I've heard that already. Well, obviously LeBron is washed up. I'm sorry. If you don't want LeBron, I know 29 other teams that want him. You know, I mean, all of this talk is just driving me nuts. You know, LeBron's not washed up. The Lakers aren't washed up. The Lakers had an injury here. Okay. People have to remember that we've had a lot of basketball in a compressed period of time. You know, they came out of the bubble where they played a lot of games. They got back into the season in a very short period of time. They played 72 games in a compressed period of time. Injuries were going to be a fact of this season. So everything is going to be a little tilted, even on through to whoever winds up being the champions. So, yeah, but I don't want to take away from what the Suns did. We talked about the Suns being an improved team. Man, Chris Paul's made such a difference. I'm so happy about Devin Booker finally getting a chance to be showcased for the player that he is. And, you know, I think this Suns Nuggets series, I think it's going to be great. Vasu, I cannot hear you.
Who's going to play defense, Charlie, between Phoenix and Denver?
Nobody. Because defense.
We give the edge to Phoenix because defensively they're better. Phoenix is better defensively, the way that the rankings came out, the way the defensive efficiency stats came out.
Probably because Malone emphasizes defense a little more. Although, frankly, since he's gone to Denver, his emphasis on defense has been far less than it was when he was here in Sacramento. I have to be honest. But you know, I was talking with my talk show host here in Sacramento this morning in a production meeting, and I have to tell you that old adage that defense wins championships. I think when it comes to the NBA, throw that out with the bathwater. Don't throw the baby out because that's a bad analogy anymore. But you know, I think that's a bad analogy. I'm not sure that defense wins championships anymore in the NBA. And my other proof of that is the over and under in the Bucks Nets first game of 240. Okay,
we'll get to that in a second. Holy cow! Anyway, all right. So let's talk about.
I don't think that's the case.
Let's talk about tonight's game a little bit. The pattern, I absolutely I made a mistake yesterday when I said that all the underdogs covered in the Clippers-Dallas series. All the road teams did win, but the Clippers were favored in the games in Dallas, and they covered both as a favorite. They were a 2.5-point favorite on Friday night, a week ago Friday night in Game 3. They won by a little bit. They won by 10, and then they absolutely blew out Dallas last Sunday. So 2 favorites have covered. They've both been road games by the Clippers. So guess what happens in the pattern? The Clippers are favored tonight by 3 against a team at home that's up 3-2 in the series, who's won all their games in Los Angeles. And I know they're not going to throw away the game and go, oh, we'll just go beat them in Los Angeles, because that's a dangerous way to play. But here are the Clippers, and we have also the Eastern Conference odds for the weekend as well, too. Charlie referenced the 240 on Saturday. That is not a mistake, even though I may be inebriated. I did not mistype it. 240 is the total. The Clippers are 3 and 216.5 tonight for Game 6, 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN tonight, 216.5. Don't know which way to go on the total. The pattern says take the Clippers, Charlie, at the Clippers -3. And then we go back to Game 7, and the Clippers will be favored by 7 again. And then the Mavericks will end up winning behind Luka Doncic and whatever calls that the Clippers claim they don't get at home at Staples.
Yeah, Vasu, I know that because of the everybody's won on the road, the favoritism goes to the Clippers tonight. I've heard all of the things say, well, the Clippers are the better team, blah, 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 blah. I'm against that at this point, because I think at some point, home court advantage has to prevail. I really do. That everything about the odds in the NBA say at some point, home court advantage is going to prevail. And I think tonight is when that is going to happen. It's really interesting. After the game on Thursday night or Wednesday night, Luka said, I think one thing that has happened to us when we've been at home, especially with the crowd, is we've gotten a little too comfortable. Well, Rick Carlisle's a good coach. And if there's anybody that can make you feel uncomfortable, because I've had a chance to be around in the media scrum and interview Rick Carlisle. If there's anybody that can make you feel uncomfortable, it's Rick Carlisle. The only guy that can make you feel more uncomfortable is Popovich. And Rick Carlisle can make you feel pretty uncomfortable. So I know that he's going to take that team and he's going to light a fire underneath them. And I think tonight you're going to see Dallas. I really do. I think you're going to see the Mavs use that home court advantage. And I think this is the game where they turn that around. And I don't think they're going back to LA.
Dallas, a 3-point underdog at home for Game 6. If they win, they will take on the Utah Jazz, who dispensed of the Memphis Grizzlies. You can tell that Utah is healthy again, and they really took it to Memphis. Other than the one game they lost, Donovan Mitchell did not play in Game 1. As soon as he came back, Utah dominated that series. It'll be Game 1 on Sunday if Dallas wins. If not, it'll be Game 7 on Sunday between the Clippers and I could be wrong. That could be Tuesday for the Jazz and Clippers. But anyway, check the schedules and we'll see. But I've not seen any schedule. I imagine ESPN and ABC will have 2 games on Sunday. The Atlanta Hawks and Philadelphia will be the first game at 1 Eastern on Sunday afternoon. All right, let's hit the East real quick before we take a break here. Brooklyn, Milwaukee. Oh, by the way, what about Phoenix and Los Angeles? Let's hit that again. We talked about LA a little bit, the LeBron James factor. I know he'd never lost outside of the first round. Or he'd never lost a first-round series, I guess is the best way to put it, until yesterday. But they were not the team. They were not the best team out there. Phoenix was the best team out there. Their bench is subpar. I mean, I like guys like Caruso and Kyle Kuzma and Markieff Morris. They're all good players, but you match them up against guys that are with the Phoenix Suns that come off the bench. And then DeAndre Ayton, I don't know who got to DeAndre Ayton, but all of a sudden DeAndre Ayton is looking like the number 1 pick from 2 years ago or 3 years ago when he came in the league, and he's dominating on the inside. And this is guys like Andre Drummond and Marc Gasol. I've seen him play against Valanciunas when they played against Memphis, and for some reason he's picked it up this year. Maybe it's just the learning curve. Maybe Monty Williams has got them going. Chris Paul, never underestimate Chris Paul's leadership. I got to think that had a lot to do with it in terms of the pick and roll, because he can't shoot the jump shot. Chris Paul, the master of the pick and roll, and of course Devin Booker. I mean, Devin Booker so underrated in this game, and he came out to show that he is the best player on the Phoenix Suns team, even though he did not get them to a point in the bubble. We watched them in the bubble last year go 8-0 and 9-0 eventually, but they still did not get into the actual playoffs in the bubble. But here they are, number 2 seed, and I give them. Utah's very good. Utah's very, very, very good, and Quinn Snyder's a great coach, and Mitchell and Gobert, Ingles and Bojanovic and Clarkson, 6th man of the year, Jordan Clarkson, they're all there, but I still give Phoenix a really good shot on defense to stop Utah, especially at home. They've beaten Utah at home in their games this year, and on Monday we'll preview it. If they haven't had game one already, if they get to the conference finals, we'll have plenty of time to preview it, Charlie. But what about the Phoenix Suns? Do you like in terms of going up against against the Clippers first, and then going up against the Mavericks second?
You know, I like the Suns. I like the way they're playing. I think the Mavericks have excelled in this first round. I think everybody that's a Mavericks fan had better enjoy what they've done in the first round, because I think the second round it's done. I mean, I really do. I think they have reached their high watermark in this first round. I think that everybody has a tier. Yeah, you know my philosophy on that. And I think that once they get out of this first round, they will jump into the next tier where they will be out of their comfort zone. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think they're going to get swept, but I think they're going to find that their talent level is going to be beyond the next level of talent that they face is going to be beyond where they are. And probably because of bench talent will be is what's going to let them down. So I like that. Clippers wise, I hate, and I could be totally wrong, Vasu, but I don't think the Clippers. Let me tell you why I think the Clippers are not moving on. Okay, and this is purely my opinion. I think Kawhi has checked out. Kawhi's got an opt out at the end of the season in his contract. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether he doesn't like the management. I don't know whether he's not happy with Ty Lue. I don't know whether he's not happy with getting enough of the spotlight. I don't have a clue. I have no insight. But on court demeanor, he's just not there.
How can you tell? How can you tell? It's Kawhi Leonard.
I know, but it's just. I've watched enough basketball. I've been around enough of it. It's how much basketball and on-court situations have we seen in the course of the time that we've covered. And man, that guy's going through the motions. He's just going through the motions. And I think he's checked out. And if I had to do an over and under, is he there next year or is he not? I'm going, he's not. I think he's done.
It'll be interesting to see. All right, so we got the Clippers 3 and 216.5. If we have picks on it, we'll get to that. Forget the actual pick at the end, which we'll make based on the line and the over-under. You think the Mavericks win tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to Saturday here for the East. Brooklyn, Milwaukee, -4. We referenced 240. Holy cow, 240 points in a playoff game. I know we said defense wins championships, but 240 points for the Milwaukee Bucks. They can play a little bit better defense. They did sweep Miami out, and it'll be interesting to see how they play against Harden, Irving, and Durant. But my question is not so much how Milwaukee defends Brooklyn, is how is Brooklyn going to defend Milwaukee? Because Milwaukee's got offensive players on that team, and in my opinion, just by Drew Holiday being added to that team, Milwaukee plays better defense. And so now you've got Irving, who can be guarded by Holiday. You got Harden. They're going to miss DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo being out of the lineup is going to hurt Milwaukee. So that's going to be a big loss for them. But the firepower greater than Milwaukee's defense, or is Milwaukee's defense greater than Brooklyn's offense? And that's not even undertaking the fact or assuming the fact that Milwaukee's offense is not very good, because they are very good. Chris Middleton proved that. They've got guys that can shoot. If they get hot, nobody's hotter than the Milwaukee Bucks. They just went cold last year in the bubble, and they've had their moments this year. Point spread wise, certainly they have not covered a lot of games because their defense has given up points. But I think Budenholzer is okay as a coach. Obviously, Antetokounmpo has got to hit free throws. He takes too many jump shots for my liking. I like the 10 to 15 feet range. Chris Middleton's a 50, 40, 90 guy. Drew Holiday plays great defense, averages 18 points a game. DiVincenzo said is going to get hurt, but their bench is really, really good too. And they've got guys that can come off that bench as well too. Brooklyn, the three guys, Joe Harris shoots from the outside. They've got DeAndre Jordan in the middle, and they run up and down. So this is going to be a track meet. Obviously, it's going to be a track meet. The odds makers think so by the fact it's 240. Milwaukee swept Brooklyn the last time they played in these baseball type series that they're having this year for less travel. They beat them twice on a Saturday and Monday at home, both easily by more than the 4 points you see for Saturday night. So Charlie O, what say you for Saturday night for game one as a feeling out process?
Well, I think this is going to be true through the entire series. I think the key in this entire series is Kyrie. I really do. If Kyrie shows up, give it to the Nets. Now, they're not going to sweep. Again, when I say these things, folks, understand, people go nuts. Oh, he said that they're going to sweep. No, there's no sweeps. These are 7-game series, and these are professional teams, and we're going into a second round. There are no sweeps, okay? But I really think Kyrie is the key here for the Nets, because I really feel like, I mean, can Durant and can Harden carry this team? Yes. But for them to dominate, Kyrie has got to be into that mix, because when they're together, I mean, that's 100 points. I mean, easily it can be 90 to 100 points. Boom, bang. Thanks for coming to play our game, and pick up your consolation gifts from Drew Carey on your way out the door. I mean, it's that simple. So I think Kyrie, his attitude, how he's feeling, and his focus, that's the most important thing, is the real key for the Nets in this. Will Milwaukee be there? Will they be competitive? Will they win some games? Will they make it tough on Brooklyn? Yes, they will. But in my opinion, Brooklyn will prevail in the series. But I do believe that Brooklyn will win game one.
The three-headed monster in one of their games against who do they play? Against Boston, scored 104 of the 148 points that they had against the Boston Celtics. By the way, let's talk about Boston for a second here. Danny Ainge has stepped down as the president of the Boston Celtics. Brad Stevens got promoted to that position. They did not say whether he's going to continue to coach or not, but he will be the president of basketball operations. Danny Ainge citing the fact that he just doesn't feel like he can relate to players because his players were okay with Kyrie Irving stepping on the logo, that it wasn't a big deal. It kind of hurt Danny Ainge as a longtime Celtic, and the fact that they weren't upset told him that he doesn't relate to players anymore. So a long run by Danny Ainge, who's had a good run with the Boston Celtics. I mean, they won championships under Danny Ainge being the president of the organization. So he steps down. Brad Stevens gets promoted. Maybe it's just time. I think the Boston Celtics were undermanned because of the COVID issues. I think they would have shown up better. That team is with Jaylen Brown back and a healthy Kemba Walker, that team was better than a 7 seed based on the way they played in the early part of the year. So thoughts on Danny Ainge here before we hit the Atlanta-Philadelphia game, Charlie?
Well, I like Danny. I think he's an amazing guy. First of all, I mean, everybody forgets that Danny Ainge was a professional baseball player and a pro basketball player. And then he's turned himself into an amazing executive in the NBA. I think Danny's just
a scratch golfer too, by the way.
Yes. By the way,
amazing athlete.
Yeah. And he rubs people a little wrong. He's kind of a Pete Rose kind of guy. In that respect. No, seriously.
That's why he doesn't relate to players today. That's why he doesn't relate to players today.
He's I mean, the classic term is he's a red ass. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's what he really is. And I just think, after he had that heart surgery and everything else, I just think he wants to go spend time with his grandkids and maybe become a consultant. I mean, if I were a broadcast group, I'd be going after him in a minute because
good on TV.
He's knowledgeable. He's well-spoken. I would love to have him on my broadcast crews. And I just think he's done with it. After a while, there's just a time where you call it. The word is Brad Stevens just said, you know what? I'm kind of tired of being away from the family all the time. And maybe he's not done coaching. Maybe he does this for a couple of years and then says, I'd like to get back coaching. And that's there. Who do they get to coach the Celtics? I think it's somebody that hasn't been a head coach. I mean, could it be Becky Hammond? Yeah, it could be. But could it, I mean, I think there's a cadre of people. I heard somebody today say, well, because it looks like Terry Stotts probably probably will be out in Portland. I mean, that's been rumored all season long anyway. And now that they didn't perform all that well in the playoffs, there's a lot of conjecture that he's gone. And somebody said, well, if he's gone, will he immediately go to Massachusetts and be interviewed for the Celtics job? And my answer to that is absolutely not, because that's not, why? First of all, he's had a horrible track record in the playoffs. He's got a losing record in playoffs. And that's not what they need. They need young, innovative thinking there to relate to a young group of players. So, I think it was just time. It was just time. Every team comes to a time where it's time to turn it over. And I mean, it's just like Coach K. We talked about it yesterday. There comes a time where you turn it over. There'll come a time. I know this is hard to believe, but there'll come a time when Charlie O comes on one day and says, it's just time. And everybody's going to go, oh, thank God.
Time covers all points for us, we said. All right, so we'll see what happens in Boston. By the way, anybody considering any of these coaches from other markets, let me just remind everybody, for those that are not in the media world and have not been up there, Boston media is not like the media in Portland, Oregon. Just remember that. I don't think Terry Stotts he would have to get used to it very quickly. All right, let's check Facebook here before we head to
from the Oregonian.
Yeah.
Coach Stotts, what did you have for breakfast today?
Yeah, right, exactly. The Eugene Herald or something like that. I love Oregon. I don't mean to bash them, but it's not Boston media. Let's say hi to Robbie real quick. Happy Friday, everyone, from Robbie, Vinny G,
hey, Robbie.
And Janine, everybody watching on there. All right, the last game, Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O here. The Make the Money and Run podcast, KC on assignment today. Sunday morning, West Coast time, 10 o'clock. Before we even have our breakfast or you go to church, if you're a churchgoer person, unlike me, the Atlanta Hawks are a 2.5-point favorite, 2.5-point underdog to the Philadelphia 76ers, 220.5. Philadelphia, the 1 seed in the East, awaiting the Hawks coming in after their 5-game demolition of the New York Knicks. Nate McMillan, we talked about yesterday, big difference in defense since he took over the last 47 games for the Hawks, from a 114 defensive efficiency to about a 102. That's 12 games over a 47-game period. That's a lot of points to knock off in a 47-game period. Nate McMillan was a defensive guy in Indiana. He's going to do the same thing in Atlantic. And this defense, with that offensive capability that they have, that they showed against the Knicks, Philadelphia's tough. Philadelphia plays great defense. Doc Rivers, a great coach. Joel Embiid, the key, Charlie. If he doesn't play, this line's at 2.5 right now, pending the Embiid experiment. I shouldn't say experiment, the Embiid entrance or non-entrance into the series, because I would jump on Philadelphia at 2.5 right now, even without Embiid. And then if he comes back, I'm golden at 2.5, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Embiid's the key to the series for Philadelphia. He really is. I mean, can they win without him? Yeah, but it becomes very difficult. I mean, Simmons is important. Seth Curry is important out there in that series, but they need Embiid. I mean, they need Embiid in 5 games of a 7-game series. They need him in 5 games of the 7-game series. They can go 2 games without him, but they need him in 5 games of a 7-game series out there. And I'll tell you why I think the Hawks are dangerous is because we've talked about this before. This is one of my favorite phrases. The Hawks don't know what they don't know. I mean, they have become a team that has totally revolutionized themselves since McMillan took over. They've changed their style of play. They've started winning, and they just don't know that they shouldn't have done this. I mean, this does not happen in a half season in the National Basketball Association. I mean, this is practically a movie. You got a young guy in Trae Young who is just out there burning it up. And I love the fact, I mean, people are making a big deal out of it. And I think he's just working it for all that stuff, taking on the bad boy role and all that stuff. I love it, man. The guy's just working it for all it's worth. I just think it's great. Just making it move and go. And I think they're just loose as a goose. And that makes them dangerous. That makes them dangerous. So Philly is going to have to take them serious, because if they don't, Philly all of a sudden is going to be sitting at home going, okay, the cheesesteaks are good, but why are we at home?
Clint Capella, very underrated. How underrated? He's about $30 million less than Joel Embiid. Underrated. He hits the offensive glass. He runs with the Atlanta Hawks when they did, and their defense has picked up. You can tell by the totals. All you got to do is go back to the regular season with the Atlanta Hawks and their totals in these games. They were religiously between 230 and 240, now at 220.5. And Philadelphia also scores. Their totals were in the 225s to 230s. Defense going to be the name of the game. This over-under at 220.5. Game one in Philadelphia on Sunday, 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, out here on ABC. All right, we're going to take a break, talk a little hockey when we come back. Just a couple of minutes. Did you know how many overtime games there were amongst all the playoff games? We'll get to that in a little bit, but also a lot of Major League Baseball. A lot of Major League Baseball. I'll talk about 3 big series that I want to hit, and then we'll have a little potpourri. I want to celebrate Lou Gehrig's Day. Not really celebrate, but kind of acknowledge Lou Gehrig's Day on June 2nd, this past Wednesday. A lot of celebrations, a lot of honoring of ALS and the effects that it's had and what Major League Baseball has done to it. One of the few things that Rob Manfred has agreed to in the last few years that has worked out. So good on his PR team for that. We'll come back with all that, a little bit of hockey, a little potpourri. We also got the Belmont to talk about for a few minutes as that comes up as the last leg of the Triple Crown on Saturday evening in Belmont, New York. Charlie O, Vasu Vaddiparty, Make the Money and Run podcast on Friday. Casey on assignment. We'll be back with more. 30 seconds to the Make the Money and Run podcast. See you in 30. Hello, everybody. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O, back with you from break. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 4th, 2021. Casey Freelove is on assignment. He'll be back with us on Monday. Hope your Memorial Day week has gone good after the holiday. Looking forward to a big weekend of sports. The NBA playoffs starting to get really revved up. The NHL playoffs starting to get revved up. We'll hit Major League Baseball in a few seconds. All right, I just referenced the NHL, Charlie, the NHL playoffs. We don't talk a lot of NHL, but if you're going to wager on the NHL, this is the time to do it because hot goalies will carry you through. Over-unders are very big. The grand salamis, which we don't talk about. The grand salami, you know the term grand salami, Charlie. The grand salami in hockey is the total number of goals being scored by all the games being played that day, provided there's more than one. So it is a very interesting proposition. And then they have odds on home goals versus road team goals as well, too. It's a total aggregate of it all. But here's what's going on in the NHL playoffs this year. By the way, you can catch us Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We're powered by Stables Media. Happy birthday to Tony Russo today, our fearless leader at Stables Media. Want to give him a shout out as well at everybody at Stables Media we partnered with in this last year through COVID. What a year we've had. We've come out on top, and here we are still doing our thing at Stables Media and at Make the Money and Run here on the podcast as well, too. All right, 47 total playoff games, including last night, Charlie. 18 overtime games. 18 total overtime games in the 47 total playoff games there have been. That includes last night's 2 overtime games. Carolina, I said Florida, the Carolina Panthers, the Carolina Hurricane, not the Florida Panthers, not the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Hurricane have gotten back in this series on the road. This is one of those all road teams win so far. They get a 3-2 victory in overtime at the 6-minute mark. Carolina gets the victory over Tampa Bay. It was one of my picks yesterday, was the Tampa Bay Lightning. I still think they're going to come through the East. 3-2 victory over Tampa Bay. That series of 2-1. Another overtime game. The Boston Bruins got a goal about 5:34 into the overtime. 1 overtime slackers. 2-1 over the Islanders. Boston with a 2-1 series lead in that. Game 4s for those will be on Sunday. Pretty much the NHL has gone so far. Colorado's the best team in there. We'll get to the odds in a second. But Charlie, 18 overtime games, 1-3 overtime game. I want to say 4. I didn't count them right, but I want to make sure I got it right. But I saw at least 3 or 4 2 overtime games. And so that's 5. That's 13 other games that ended up in single overtime of these 47 total games. What are they going to have left as we move on to the conference finals and the Stanley Cup? I mean, we're in the Final Four, basically. We're getting to the Final Four of these 4 divisions. of the NHL, and those 4 teams are going to battle it out for the right to go play for Lord Stanley Cup.
Listen, first of all, even if you don't like hockey, there is nothing like playoff hockey. I mean, really, there isn't.
Totally agree with you.
Vasu's in San Jose. I used to live in San Jose. I used to cover a lot of hockey with the San Jose Sharks. And there's nothing like, it's hard to explain hockey to people who have never been to a hockey game, because it's kind of like going to an auto race. Once you've been to an auto race, then you'll watch it on TV because you know what's going on. And I think hockey is the same way, Vasu. I really do. I think once you've been there and you've seen the puck, you know where the puck goes, you know how the thing goes, then you'll watch it on TV because you understand what's happening.
Right.
And playoff hockey, it just gets mean. It just gets rough. It just, it's like a championship boxing match. And then when it gets into overtime, Katie, bar the door. I mean, it's so exciting. And then I've been there with multiple overtimes in a playoff hockey game. And I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, it's exciting on TV. If you're there, the air just gets sucked out of the arena. I mean, it's crazy. And if you're wagering on it, oh Lord. I mean, you can't get up and go to the bathroom. I mean, you won't. You won't because it could be over like that.
Yeah.
So it really is exciting. I mean, it really is. But our buddy John Atkinson, I mean, when he's watching hockey, do not, especially playoff hockey, do not text him, do not call him, do not email him, do not send a certified letter. Nothing, because he will not respond to you. I mean, if he died, he would not let the coroner come and pick him up until the game was over. I mean, I'm serious. It's just that much. So it's exciting, and so turn it on. I mean, turn it on in the third period and hope that it goes to overtime, because you'll learn something brand new.
Let's say hi to Billy Ball. Her and Nate Miller have a show in Texas on the Fishbowl Radio Network, the Basement Show. I've been on there a couple of times. Hockey's sometimes difficult to understand.
Hi, Billy.
Not watching it, but damn, it's so much fun. And yes, especially playoff hockey, still easier to understand than rugby. Yes, you're right. I don't watch a lot of rugby, but I love watching it. They're all Dallas Stars fans down there. It's the perfect game to watch. It's a remote control deal where you watch a movie and you see a movie you want to see. You can't flip the remote to another channel. Same thing with playoff hockey. When you get to the third period, especially overtime, and nobody will take baseball away from me. Nobody will take the NFL. And I've seen it on side TVs and sports bars on an NFL Sunday. But damn, if my eyes aren't watching that overtime hockey game in the middle of a third quarter of a big NFL football game, and yet I'm still watching, waiting for that split second to have open. All right, so we talked about that. 18 of 47. See, that's 9 of 24. That's like 3. That's like 38% of the playoff games have been in overtimes. 5 of them have been in double overtimes or one triple overtime. Unbelievable hockey. I watched a 5 overtime game 20 years ago between Pittsburgh and Carolina, and you couldn't leave. I started at 4 o'clock. I started at 4 o'clock West Coast time and ended at 1 o'clock my time. So you can imagine how it was in Carolina at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're waiting through five overtimes between the Pittsburgh Penguins and Carolina Hurricanes at that point. So the odds for tonight, Colorado seems like they're the best team in the West, 115 favorite at Las Vegas. They have a 2-0 series lead. Montreal continues to surprise. They're the lowest seed in the 4 teams in that Canadian division. They have a 1-0 series lead with a 5-3 victory on Winnipeg Wednesday. They're a slight underdog, probably minus 105 if you have a 20-cent line. 5.5 the total. The home goals are minus 110, and that's where we're talking about. The total goals between Las Vegas and Montreal or Winnipeg have to be greater than Colorado and Montreal for the home team to win that one. And then the over/under is just over/under 11 goals total between the two games. Take a side, over/under, and that's what the grand salami is on that. All right, Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O, Casey Freelove on assignment. Make the Money Run podcast powered by Stables Media. Let's hit Major League Baseball here. We got about 20 minutes left. Let's start with the National League here. Actually, I have some NFL notes. Let's hit let's talk about what happened Wednesday across Major League Baseball. I like the fact that Rob Manfred, even though he's taken a lot of flack for some of the decision making he's made, he's got some good PR people and some good executives, because they're starting to acknowledge guys and occasions that are taking place, mementos, honoring people for their service, not only for the service in the armed forces, but also past players. It has always been Jackie Robinson. Now they've established a Roberto Clemente Day, and now they've started bringing causes in. San Francisco Giants were the first in the early '90s to bring in. I forgot what the actual name is, but it was for the AIDS cause that Rod Beck has started. John Shambi, the last few years, had kind of gone through this whole thing with a friend of his through ALS, and kind of had Major League Baseball start this as well too. And so every team has a nominee for Roberto Clemente Award, and now there'll be a Lou Gehrig Award as well too for their commitment to the community. And what a terrible disease it is. There's no cure for it. We all know the Lou Gehrig speech. Been going on. That's the first time I heard of it from that time period, 1941. I'm not that old, but that's the first time I've heard of it. Was Lou Gehrig's speech. And so it's just it's interesting to see how they did it. And I'm glad they've honored it. And sometimes it's a disease that does not get funded enough, Charlie. It gets lost in the wind. And sometimes, the worst part about it is, and that goes with anything too, that goes with any disability. Sometimes you feel disconnected from the regular community because you can't contribute and you can't be part of it. And to be acknowledged for it and to be part of the community and have something to be part of and be acknowledged on the field of play or some kind of ceremony to do that. I have a friend who had MS. It's not the same, but it's similar in that regard. So I understand the wear and tear it puts on people and puts on families, not to mention the cost. It's not always covered by insurance. And certainly in this country with everything going on, the insurance issue is another issue. We're not going to get on that, but good on Major League Baseball in terms of ALS and in terms of what they're doing to make that more of a known commodity, so people understand exactly what it is and get going. The bucket challenge, people know what the bucket challenge was from a few years ago, and that basically was for ALS and what it was for the young man from Boston whose name escapes me, but his name should be on everybody's tongue when it comes to ALS. But good on Major League Baseball for doing that, Charlie.
Yeah, Vasu, Jeremy Schaap on Outside the Lines on Wednesday did a special, and I'm sure it's available on demand on the ESPN.com site, and everybody should go and watch it, because one of the people that was part of the impetus behind the Lou Gehrig Day was a gentleman who was an avid baseball fan and contracted ALS. And he got with a buddy of his, and it was one of the execs with the Arizona Diamondbacks and some other people that kind of groundswelled this whole thing. And ironically, the day after they approved the Lou Gehrig Day, he passed away. So his wife said it was kind of like he achieved his goal and he was able to rest. And I mean, I got to tell you, I sat there and blubbered. I just blubbered because he was such a cool guy, and he obviously loved the game of baseball. And it's a rotten disease. I had a chance to be around. He wasn't my buddy, but I had a chance to be around a few times. Charlie Wiedemeyer, who was
the internet's going.
We
lost the internet for a second. There you go. Can you hear me? You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
I had a chance to be around Charlie Wiedemeyer, who was
Charlie Wiedemeyer
at Los Gatos High School in just outside San Jose. And Charlie contracted ALS and remained the head football coach at Los Gatos for a long time. And his lovely wife, Lucy, helped him. And but it was, just it's so difficult. Here was a guy that was so vital, and he fought, man. He just fought. It was inspirational in that way. But you're right, underfunded and still just, a mystery disease. And the inspiration that Lou Gehrig is and was, I just, you're right. I'm not a Rob Manfred fan, but Rob, salute, buddy. You finally got one right.
Yeah, Lou Gehrig, Jackie Robinson, Roberto Clemente, all the things, all the people that need to be appreciated, all the players that have gone through what they've gone through in baseball. Actually, baseball, baseball does a pretty good job in terms of celebrating causes and getting names out there, because a lot of people are baseball fans, and that is, we don't want to throw them under the bus yet. We'll do that. We'll do that.
That's not true, but that's
all right. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O here. A little internet problem, but we got it back. Thank you, Billy, for all the comments. We got that. Yeah, I can't put that on there I can't put that about there on Manfred. So we'll keep that PG right now. This is still for kids. Glad your show is doing well. You can say it on your show, but we're not going to say it on our show, Billy. So thank you very much. It's on Facebook. So let's get to the National League here real quick. Max Scherzer, Zach Wheeler. That's a game I'm looking at tonight. The Phillies in second place behind the New York Mets. Cannot figure out the Mets. They have not played all their games. They started 1 week late with all the COVID issues that they had to start the season. But Zach Wheeler has pitched great these last 5 starts. And in my picks, I'll have a pick on this game. But there is just something about Max Scherzer and something about the Washington Nationals. When he pitches for them, they end up playing really well. And it's a game I'm looking forward to. It's a game I'm going to have action on. That's one game tonight. Pittsburgh, Miami. We know the story of the Pirates and the Marlins. Marlins actually pretty good. Don Mattingly doing a good job over there. Cody Poteet, 125, 106 for Pittsburgh there. The Dodgers at Atlanta, another big series this weekend. Saturday's game will be on Fox. Julio Urias, who got beaten up by the Giants last week, 125 favored, 8.5 the total. Ian Anderson's had a rough struggle, sophomore jinx. Maybe teams are catching up to him after last year. He surprised everybody. Milwaukee cannot figure out their offense, 190 over Arizona. Freddie Peralta against Matt Peacock. Arizona having a tough time playing defense and getting guys out. Their bullpen's horrible. All you got to do is watch the Mets series to see how that happened. They had 3 chances to win that game on Wednesday afternoon against the Mets. And then a big rivalry in the NL Central, St. Louis, who lost to Cincinnati at home. No shortage of happiness all over the Cincinnati area based on the rivalry that goes way back to Brandon Phillips and Yadier Molina. And way before that, Tony La Russa and Dusty Baker. Kim versus Luis Castillo, who was brilliant last year, not having a good year this year, 8.5 the total. Charlie, National League wise, I'm looking at, and actually let's add one more to this. The New York Mets in San Diego playing tonight in San Diego. Joey Lucchesi against Blake Snell. Padres got a win last night over New York. New York still holding on to first place. The Padres, I'm still not sold on the Padres. I don't know. Maybe I need to be sold on the Padres. I think the Giants were better than, or even with them coming into the year, but I'm not sold on them. And then we don't have the lineup, but it's been noted that Scott Kazmir is going to pitch for the Giants. There is a line on the Scott Kazmir versus Jake Arrieta and the Cubs. He is a slight favorite, about 108, and the total 8 against the Cubs tonight with Jake Arrieta on the mound for the Cubs. Giants get a 7-2 victory. Brandon Crawford, how about Brandon Crawford on the scrap heap 2 years ago, looking like an MVP candidate for the National League in 2021. So what say you, Charlie, about the National League as we move on here?
Well, first of all, I got to ask you a question. What is it going to take for you to be sold on the Padres?
They got to play better defense, and they got to hit in the clutch. I don't like their starting pitching. I think Blake Snell can get effectively wild. He has one bad inning. Darvish has always had inconsistency spots. He hasn't hit it yet, and he's going to hit it in the middle of the year. If they get a lead and they can hit in the clutch, because they're not hitting the clutch right now like the other teams are, if they get a lead and they get to the 7th inning, their bullpen is probably top 3, if not the best. And Mark Melancon has turned the last 2 years around as their closer. So, and they throw the ball around a little bit. At least at the beginning of the year, they did throw the ball around a little bit. And Tatis at short is great. Machado at third is great. But I just think they throw the ball around too much, and I just don't think they hit well enough. Maybe it's the park, maybe it's the nighttime conditions. They don't score a lot, but I'm just not sold on the starting pitching. Even Lamet, he's still injured, and he hasn't proven that what he's been the last 2 years for San Diego in the rotation. How you doing, people in San Diego? Just wanted to let you know that.
There goes our San Diego audience. Woo! There's a market we just lost. Holy cow. All right.
Is that specific enough?
Yeah. Okay. And by the way, that park, they're never going to score a lot of runs.
Love that park.
They're never going to score a lot of runs at night in that ballpark.
Yeah, let's bring our San Diego audience back in. It's my second favorite park, even higher than Dodger Stadium. And it would take a lot for me to say that over the Dodgers. Oh, maybe the rivalry gets it.
I love that ballpark.
Yeah, maybe the rivalry.
You're never going to score a lot of runs in that ballpark.
Maybe the overinflated Yeah, maybe the overinflated rivalry by the Padres to the Dodgers has kind of shined me off of them because it's still Dodgers Giants for me.
Well, first of all, your criticism of Blake Snell is very valid. I mean, since he had the surgery in 2019, he's been a very ordinary pitcher. Okay, I mean that's very valid, and so that's there. Darvish, we talked about Darvish yesterday. You know, I always love to watch him pitch, but you never know who's coming in, and so that's always a little iffy, and that's there. Melanson, man, that's a story of Lazarus right there. You know, Lazarus, come forth, man, and he came out of the grave. I don't know, man. Holy cow! I mean that's a good one. You know, but you know, I know they got off to a bit of a rough start, but they had injuries and COVID and everything else. Well, they got hit a little harder than most, though. You gotta give them that. I mean, you know, I know everybody was fighting stuff, but they got hit a little harder than most. And again,
based on some of our viewing audience and listening audience and my Facebook crowd, I don't know squat about baseball, so I'll take that for what it's worth. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Now, I know you're beating up on him, but folks, he does know baseball. I have to back him up on that. He does know baseball. Okay, so his opinions, you may disagree with them, and I disagree with them often, but he does know baseball pretty well. Did I just say something nice about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday. It's not even my birthday.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, but the one problem that the Padres are always going to have when they're at home is at night, it's tough. It's tough to score runs there. I don't understand why they don't play. Well, I do understand. But if they were smart, they'd play more Saturday afternoon games there. They don't play them because San Diego is so nice that nobody wants to be in a ballpark on Saturday afternoon in San Diego. Everybody wants to be on the flipping beach, okay, and out and about. So they're going to go. That's why they play Saturday night games. Because the other thing is, it's just gorgeous to be in that ballpark on a Saturday night. But that's a hard park to score in at night because the ball doesn't carry. During the daytime, that ball up and away. So if they played Saturday afternoon games there, they would probably win more home games. And I'm serious. You know, I know I'm Mr. Meteorology. Thank you, Len. Thank you, John. I'm right. You know I'm right. And it would make a difference. But they're not that bad, Vasu. I'm sorry.
I didn't say they were that bad. I just don't think they're as good as everybody made them out to be as the number 2 team in baseball coming into the year. All right, let's move on to the American League now. We've got about 7 minutes left. We want to make sure we get our picks. That's what a lot of people tune in for. So the American League, hey, Yankees Boston are playing again this weekend. They're going to be on Fox and they're going to be on ESPN on Saturday and Sunday. What a shock. Michael King, who nobody's heard of, Yankees throw the ball around. They haven't hit the ball the last week. And if they play bad defense and their starting pitching is not the way it is, Tampa Bay got to him a little bit, even got to Garrett Cole yesterday. Nathan Eovaldi for the Red Sox, second place behind those Tampa Bay Rays, who are at Texas tonight. Hi, Billy. Hi, Nate Miller. 127 favorite at the Texas Rangers. Kyle Gibson having a good year. John Fleming, who was pretty effective in postseason. 127 and 8 the total there, Fleming and Gibson. Kansas City Royals are only 5 games back in the American League Central, believe it or not, behind the White Sox. And the White Sox have the Detroit Tigers tonight with Spencer Turnbull going for Detroit. Dallas Keuchel, very low odds. I guess Turnbull's having a good year, 4-2, 2.76. Dallas Keuchel, we know about Dallas Keuchel in the Houston Astros days, 144 there. And then Shohei Ohtani gets another start tonight against the Mariners. I had the Mariners last night as an underdog over the Angels. I'm not sold on the Angels. They're only 6.5 games back in the AL West. It's fool's gold to me. But Shohei Ohtani is a sight to see at home, 166, 9 the total. And then we'll hit the interleague game as well, too. The Oakland A's at Colorado tonight. Frankie Montas and John Gray. Colorado, lots of offense there. I got a feeling the A's might put up 17 runs the next 2 days over here because I am not sold on Frankie Montas or Luzardo, even though Luzardo's come back. All right, Charlie, in 3 minutes, go ahead and give me your American League and interleague takes.
Well, listen, first of all, in that Red Sox-Yankees game, I just came across this quickly this morning. Eovaldi's only given up 1 home run this season. I mean,
that was opening day.
That was crazy.
Day. Yep.
That's crazy. In this environment, that's nuts. And a Yankees team that is doing horrible against right-handed pitching. How can a Yankees team that is built to hit off right-handed pitching not hit right-handed pitching? That's horrible. So you kind of know how I'm leaning in that game. Who else in that deal? By the way, in that interleague game, it's Colorado, folks. Over. Watch the weather. Watch the weather. Believe me, Colorado. What does Uncle Charlie always tell you?
Let's say take the
Watch the weather.
Watch the weather.
Watch the weather. And if you're going to go, forget the spreads. Forget all of that stuff. Only over, under. And if you're going to watch the weather, and it better be an over. Okay. That I'm telling you right now. Astros, Blue Jays. Blue Jays loving being in Buffalo. They're in Buffalo now. Very interesting. I was listening today to Sports Grid Radio, and their host there used to be the play-by-play guy for the Buffalo. What are they up to? The Bisons, I think.
Bison, not Bison.
Bison's AAA team. And they were talking about the fact that they are so excited because they, of course, last year couldn't have any fans. They've got fans there now. And people don't realize that the closest major league team to Buffalo is Toronto. So they have a lot of folks that follow the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays were really unhappy in Florida because everybody that was coming to their games were Tampa Bay fans and people that were in Florida. So it was Philly fans and all these people. Nobody was Blue Jay fans. So they weren't feeling any love. They weren't feeling any home field advantage. So they're really excited because the people that are in Buffalo are rooting for the Blue Jays. So they finally feel like they have a home field advantage. So you want to keep that in mind in relationship to that. And by the way, I love your take on the Angels. I think the Angels are total fool's gold, except when Ohtani is pitching and hitting. So keep that in mind when he's going. Although I forget who started last night for the Mariners, but he got him out three times.
Sheffield. He was
Sheffield. Good. That's right. Yeah, man, he got him 3 times and made him look horrible.
Okay, let's get to the world famous pick segments that everybody loves that they download and fast forward through the whole show to get to the last 5 minutes. So I'm going to give you the order, Charlie, to go get your picks. Go get them, Charlie.
All right, here we go. Like I said, I have a play in that Boston-New York game, and I am taking the Beantowners minus 105 over the Bombers. I told you I like that Oakland-Colorado game, and I'm telling you why. It's going to be hot tonight. It's going to be hot tonight in Denver. It's going to be like 82 degrees at first pitch. It's only going to be like 78 by the time the game's over with. 8-degree wind with gust up to 11. We're going over 11 runs in that game. And I'm going to take the Mavericks +3 in that NBA game as they put away the Los Angeles Clippers.
All right. That's a good pick by Charlie, taking the Mavericks. All right. I'm going to go with the Toronto. When they put in Buffalo last year, they were averaging about 8.5, 9 runs a game. Zach Greinke on the mound. He's given up runs. They played last year. The game's going to go over 8.5, even with Ryu on the mound. I love Max Scherzer. I don't know why I'm going with the Nationals tonight. I know why I'm going with the Nationals. It's Max Scherzer. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't take the Nationals. But they're playing better. They're playing better. They did get a game in Atlanta. They're going to Philadelphia. They successfully had some good times in Philadelphia, and Zach Wheeler's been on a roll for 5 games. It's not the do to lose theory for Wheeler. It's that Max Scherzer. I love Max Scherzer, and I like him as an underdog. And every once in a while, you got to take an underdog. Tampa Bay Rays minus 125 with the aforementioned John Fleming against the Rangers tonight in Arlington. The Giants with Kazmir. I like Scott Kazmir, not an Arrieta guy. 108 on the Giants tonight, and I'm going to go with the trend. The Clippers on the road -3. They're going to take on the Mavericks. They're going to win tonight. They'll cover like they did in Game 3 and Game 4. And on Sunday afternoon, we'll have a Game 7 back in Los Angeles where the Clippers will be favored by 6 or 7, and then Dallas will end up winning again. All right, last thing before we go. Who you got in the Belmont?
You know what? How can I not take Hot Rod Charlie? And I know I have done absolutely no study on this, but Hot Rod Charlie.
All right, I'm going with Ron Bauer. He won the Kentucky Derby last time as well, too. Thanks to everybody on Facebook for commenting in. We're here Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific. Facebook, YouTube Live. Download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. Casey will be back with us on Monday. Have a great weekend with all the sports. Have a fun time. Enjoy it, and we will see you on Monday, 4:15, right here. Have a great weekend, everybody, and good luck with your games.